Hi, I'm Frank Fitzgerald from AI Risk.
And I'm Alec Crawford.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about compliance and what's actually happening in the regulatory space with artificial intelligence. So, Alec, being an expert inside the risk area is specifically, there's a lot of different regulations that are coming out into the marketplace, both in Europe and the United States. And I'm just curious if you can give us a little background on what's going on.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. I'll talk about the U.S. first, where obviously we've got Biden's executive order about AI, which is really focused on the biggest AI companies and making sure that they're doing things responsibly and safely and transparently, things along those lines, which won't really impact most companies directly, really just those big companies building base models.
Yeah.
But more importantly, from a financial services standpoint and an investment manager standpoint, we have a couple rules that are slated to be finalized in the second quarter of 2024. The most important one is the SEC predictive analytics rule, which also sweeps artificial intelligence inside predictive analytics. And what that rule says is basically if you're doing anything with AI or predictive analytics in terms of communicating with customers or picking investments, that you need to be very careful about conflicts of interest, number one. And you need to track everything that you're doing
Mhm.
with these large language models and chatbots. And I don't just mean recording all the conversations. I mean, all the metadata, who was doing it, the model version, what data was used. Because if something goes wrong, you're going to need to be able to go back there and identify what went wrong and why it went wrong and know how to fix it. Now, separately for the EU AI Act was recently ratified by all member states. Now, they're treating AI a little bit more like a consumer product and really ranking AI in terms of how risky is it for society. So, for example, if there's an AI that helps you pick out your favorite ice cream flavor, they're not really worried about that, and you can do almost anything you want. But if it's for medical care, or a good example is AI that is used for identifying people in public from facial recognition software, is banned. They consider that very dangerous, and that's literally banned for company use in the EU at this point. So we'll get more information from the EU over time in terms of compliance and rules, and the same in the US, where look, this is just the first shot across the bow from the SEC in terms of AI rules. Think of all the other regulators and how they might step into.
Well, that's an interesting point you bring up because I think there's also even some legacy rules that actually apply to some of the artificial intelligence stuff, especially here in Europe, where we're looking at GDPR and how that actually applies into some of the artificial intelligence rules as well with these LLMs. But what do you really see coming up with the future that is going to happen with the regulatory perspective? Do you possibly see it, expanding out to different areas and getting more detailed over time?
Yeah, a great way to think about it is, right now, most regulators are treating computers like computers. But in the future, especially with AI, they're going to start to treat computers like people, right? So think of all these rules that apply to your employees, like keeping records and all that kind of stuff. All that's going to happen for AI, and that's already happening with the SEC. But you can imagine other regulatory bodies in the US requiring tracking of all your different customer chatbots and internal chatbots and things like that. And also, I think the EU has really set the pace in terms of classifying different types of AI as highly risky versus not risky. The US hasn't done that yet, and that is almost certainly coming down the pike. I mean, you and I both know that in the US, politicians respond to the latest crisis. So when people start losing their jobs to AI, or we see some epic fail of AI out there, like a giant hack or something like that, then the rules will kick into place. But I think the most important thing in the US is the most strict rules right now for AI are being set up for finance. They're coming for healthcare, and then they're going to
Yep.
come for everyone else, and the rules are just going to get stricter and stricter. And honestly, they should be, because there are a lot of companies out there just operating AI with no guardrails, and that's just not bad for them. and bad for public relations. It's bad for their companies and it's bad for society. So it's something that really needs to be addressed.
Well, thanks so much for today and being able to answer some of these questions. If you guys want more information on what we're doing here at AIC Risk, you go to aicrisk.com or contact us at info@aicrisk.com. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Frank.